Well, welcome back to another episode of Two Blokes, a Beer and a Podcast. I'm Joey and Craig is with me. Craig, welcome back, mate.
Thank you, mate. Good to be going around again. I must admit I had a little bit too much red wine last night, so I'll see how I go through this one today when I crack this beer.
Oh, you should be right, mate. I had a couple of bevies, but not too many to change my tips. I am on 7 from 7 this week, heading into
Oh,
our
nice.
final game of the round, which is great. So, yeah, looking at a perfect week. Let's not jump to conclusions because the dogs, who knows, they could come out and beat the
Who
Knights.
knows?
But mate, let's get straight into it. Obviously, you know us from the Ruck Infringement podcast. This is just a new podcast series we're doing where we chat about the lighter side of rugby league, the off-field stuff, a lot of funny stuff, the footy show, and things that we've seen in our time watching the beautiful game of rugby league. So today I want to talk a bit about suburban grounds, mate. And obviously you're a Canberra boy, and you would have seen some suburban grounds. Being a Tiger supporter as well, Leichhardt, one of the best suburban grounds I think to ever go and watch footy. But what are some of your favourite suburban grounds that you've been to or that you've seen on TV and you've thought about visiting?
Well, being a Tiger boy for me, Leichhardt Oval on a Sunday afternoon is like church
Yeah.
on Sunday. Really,
Oh,
it's hard
absolutely.
to top. But I think any of those suburban grounds, like when you say which ones would you like to have gone to, I would have loved to have been at a game at Redfern.
Oh,
Back in the
yeah,
day,
yeah.
South Sydney boys. Even now seeing the Bulldogs, and full credit to them for playing games out at Belmore and getting that going. I absolutely love it. I spent a little bit of time work wise around the northern beaches. So seeing Manly out there was really cool. But just any of those smaller grounds with the atmosphere, I just absolutely love it.
Yeah, mate, they're great. I went to Brookie before it became Four Pines Park when it was Brookvale Oval. Great little suburban ground that the crowd just gets you because they're right on top of you there. And as a opposing supporter or opposing player, it would be a daunting task going to Brookvale. But I've actually never been to Leichhardt, mate. I've never been to Leichhardt
Really?
Oval.
Oh,
Never,
Joey, mate.
never.
So I'm going to crack a beer to that one.
Beautiful. What are
I've
we
got two
drinking?
in front of me. One of me is Moondog Yuzu Pale Ale,
Ooh,
100% Australian made. Oh, it's going to be hard to knock that one back. And the other one is a Chur Brain Smiles Hazy Pale Ale. Look, I do love a pale ale, but I can't knock back the Australian made. I'm
let's
assuming it's going
hear
to
it.
have a lemon flavour because it's a lemon flavour because it's got lemon all over it. But yeah,
Oh,
and then
love
I've
that
got the
sound.
old. Speaking of Leichhardt Oval, I've got the old trustworthy
Balmain.
Young Tigers. Just
Beautiful.
doing the
Well,
whole tilt and pour.
speaking of beer, I have a Bolter, just XPA. Not a bad little drop. I do not have my
Not bad.
glass with me today, but I will be cracking and drinking straight from the can. So let's hear that. Beautiful. Let's have a sip.
Sounds nice even after a few too many reds last night. Cheers,
Mate,
mate.
cheers, buddy. You can't go past a cold beer after a cold beer. All
Oh,
right,
that's all right. That's good.
mate.
We have
That
to
is
fix that. We've got to get you to
good.
Leichhardt. Next
Yeah.
year, Joey, when the Tigers finish in the top four, we're going to do it.
Are they still playing? Didn't they stop playing at Leichhardt now?
Nah, they'll be there.
No?
They've been trying
Oh,
to stop
okay.
it for 20 years, but
Yeah,
no.
yeah.
With the Matildas in the World Cup soccer, they
Oh,
had to
that's
play
right.
their games early. That's all it was. Yeah,
Yeah, sweet, perfect.
yeah.
Yeah, mate. Let's obviously we like to chat a bit of off-field rugby league. The next thing I wanted to chat about, we talked a bit about the footy show last week, but let's get a bit more into it. Obviously, we've had some pests over the years in rugby league, and none greater than Robbo, the former jockey who was on the footy show, and man, he was absolutely hilarious. Used to give it to the Falcon. Do you remember little Robbo?
Mate, he was great. He was so annoying. He was just funny. So, yeah, he did some great segments, Robbo. When they used to bounce off he and the Falcon, he was just a
He
pest.
was
The only
great.
way to describe
Oh,
him was a pest. Anyone he was around, he would annoy. But if you on the outside looking in, it was hilarious to watch.
it was so funny. My favorite one is when he wrapped Mario's office in tinfoil and everything was covered in tinfoil. And Mario he didn't know what to do. The Falcon is so funny. He copped it so
Poor
much from Robbo.
Falcon. Yeah.
But Speaking of pests, we've seen some pests in rugby league, man. There have been a few that you just go, oh, you either love them or you hate them. One sticks out for me, Mick Ennis, mate. Mick Ennis
Yeah.
was the biggest pest in rugby league. He just used to get under players' skins, but you love to see it sometimes.
Oh, absolutely. It's one of those things, you love to hate.
Yeah,
You love it because you want to hate it. And I remember, I think, geez, Ennis played for about 5 clubs, but he finished up with Cronulla. And I think it was in his final year when the Raiders Vikings clap became a big thing, a big part of their every game culture. When the Sharks knocked him off and he was standing there mocking them like this at the
yeah,
end of the
yeah,
game, and then tried making out as if he wasn't. He's like, oh, no, no, I was just clapping to the fans, like, mate, just own it. But you love to get that. You don't want to use the word hatred, but yeah, you
yeah.
love to get that aggression
That
because of it.
niggle,
It's good.
that niggle, yeah.
The niggle, yeah, that's it. The niggle.
One of my favourite as well was Semi Thaiday. Obviously that classic game where they were playing St George and he jumped in the St George scrum.
Scrum, yeah, yeah,
Hilarious. He's just
yeah.
just a funny player in our game. And I think the next part of that, like we talk about pests, so let's talk about cult figures in rugby league. Now, those guys that have just been for one reason or another, like Scott Minto, right? A lot of people
Yeah,
love Scott Minto. He didn't do anything in the
yeah,
game,
I
but
know.
people love Scott Minto.
And what
Uh,
was it? What was it? I mean, it looked like he was
might
Wayne
have been
Bennett's
Hope,
son. I
mate.
think that was
Yeah,
something. But yeah,
yeah,
he did. A Canberra Raiders player ended up playing for the Maroons was Adam
yeah,
Mobb. Like he was
yeah.
just this. Weren't these well known? They're never going to have a statue built for him, but they just picked up this following.
I think it's just it's that average Joe sort of player.
Yes,
Let's get
totally agree.
around him. Let's get around him.
Yeah,
But we've had some great cult figures. Georgie Rose always one that sticks out for me.
yeah.
Just for his size, he was built, but I wouldn't say he's your typical front rower. But everyone loved what Gorgeous George brought to the game. He was so funny and just, I mean, look at him now. No limits boxing, and hasn't that taken off? But another big one, and probably my favourite, Fui Fui Moi Moi, mate. And Fui Fui was great. It was the hair for me. He always had different hair. He was just a unit too. Good footy player. You just cut out. Oh, I think we cut out. Welcome back.
Yeah,
I think we had a little bit of technical difficulty there. We are back. Sorry about that, Craigie. My screen
it's all
seemed to
right,
just
mate. You're
cut
on a
out
roll.
there.
You're making a good point.
Yeah, thank you, mate. What part did you get to?
Georgie Rose
Oh,
doing well in the
yes,
boxing, and then
yes.
it sort of went out after that.
Yeah, I was just saying after that another great cult figure that I loved in rugby league was Fui Fui Moi Moi. Couldn't go
Oh,
past
yeah,
him, mate. It was the hair for me. He always had a different hairdo going, and he
yeah.
was he was a beast, like absolute gun of a player as well. Any cult figures? I mean, in your time of watching rugby league that really stick out for you?
Oh, just on Fooey Fooey. Do you remember Shane Shackleton used to
Yeah,
mock
yeah,
him on the
yeah.
footy show? How bad was it? The clip's not long. You couldn't do that these days.
No, definitely
No,
not.
it
Definitely
was
not.
like I remember pissing myself laughing watching it. But
It was pretty. Hang on, I'm just gonna throw my hotspot on, man, because for some reason this internet is playing up. Let's go. I'm so
back.
I'm so sorry, everyone. We just had some technical difficulties. I've connected up my hotspot now from my phone, so the internet should flow here. Very sorry about that. You were talking about Shane Shackleton. Yeah, I'm surprised that he was able to get away with that, mate.
You couldn't these days, that's for sure. But growing up in the 90s, and this is a cool story, Paul Sirenen, Balmain boy, supporting them, just the white electrical tape around the forehead that he did
Yeah,
for his whole career. I still don't really know what the purpose of it really is. It's supposed to stop the sweat going into the eyes, but bit of lecky tape. I remember trying to wear that as a kid, but I also got to meet him at a function not long ago, and hopefully going to do
Mm.
something with him on the BW&T side, which is really cool. Talking to one of your childhood heroes. I think I posted about the time. It was really nice feeling. Now all I need is a 3-day bender with Joey Johns, and my life will be complete.
Mate, wouldn't that be something? Speaking of childhood heroes, I mean, mine are obviously come from the Mighty Roosters. Brad Fittler would be one of mine. I've never met him in person. Obviously, a bit upset about what happened with New South Wales this year, but I think he'd be great to meet as well. But mate, Joey Johns, absolutely, that would be a bender and a half. Yeah, cult figures. It's interesting what you say about like the headbands and things like that. We've seen a few players, not necessarily in rugby league, but in sport over the years. You look at someone like a Leighton Hewitt, always had the cap backwards in tennis, and come on, and there was always the
Yeah,
catchphrase. And I think that's what people remember about those cult figures is they always did something that was funny and changed the game. One that is really big for me was actually Willie Mason, and I
yeah,
don't know if you've ever listened to like the NRL, the mic'd up, and he is
yes, yeah.
hilarious on that. He is so funny, and but he was also such a fit unit. Like for a big
He
guy,
was.
he was super fit, but hilarious as well.
One of the funniest signs I ever saw from a fan in a crowd was when Mason was playing for the Dogs. They were
Oh,
playing Canberra in Canberra, and Alan Tongue was the Canberra Raiders captain at the time. And there was a sign in the crowd that said, "Who needs a big willy when you got a tongue like mine?" or something like that. And it was just like, yeah, well done. But the
now,
other cult hero I can think of was Mr. Piggy Riddell.
yes, goal kicking. Yes,
They all used to follow him. Yeah,
I,
yeah.
uh,
Everyone in the
I,
stand would sit there and do it.
my favorite thing that Biggie Riddell did was when he scored the try, jumped over and sat in the seats and clapped his
Clapped
own
himself.
try.
Yeah,
That
yeah,
was
yeah.
now that was you talk about Try July, mate. That was one of the best. Uh, moving into Try July, we've obviously seen some pretty wild try celebrations over the years. Let's go through some of them. Obviously, my favourite is probably Brian Fletcher, the grenade in Origin.
Oh,
That
absolutely.
stirred up a bit. I
Yeah.
mean, New South Wales
We're
didn't
still
win for it.
paying for it to
We
today.
we are. So thanks, Fletch. But what are some of your best try celebrations that you've seen or been a part of?
I remember the Raiders, again, so we're sort of now going back to the 2000s when, the clubs just started doing them, individuals started doing, but I think the Raiders were the first club to do one as a team, as a joint team. They did the 10
Yeah.
pin bowling where
Yes.
they
Yes.
rolled it down against the Knights and they all sort of, now the last bloke standing fell over as a pin. I remember John Hopewadi doing a wrestling move. And I really enjoyed, I saw it both the recent ones this month, was in the women's game. Can't remember who was playing, but that and in the NRL game, Reed Mahoney, someone was pretending to take a
Yeah.
photo, and he's just come up and gone, bang, and smashed it out of the way. And a similar thing happened in the
It was
women's game, which was
Millie Boyle for the Roosters. She went to take the selfie
that's
and
it.
one of the other
Yeah,
girls came over. I think one of the
just went
Broncos girls
bang.
came over and yeah
That's
knocked it
right,
out.
knocked it
But
over. I love it. I think it's
yeah, me
great. I,
too.
I, I
I think
love seeing that bit of metal.
they should just celebrate all the time. It's always good to see, mate. Speaking of a good time, but this bolter, absolute beautiful
Yeah,
drop.
yeah, this is pretty good. I was said to myself yesterday, I've got a bit of stuff I need to do today, so I'm not going to have any beer. I'm not going to have any beer. Well, I didn't have any beer, but I did nearly knock off a bottle of red wine. So, on one hand, I'm happy with myself because I did what I said I wouldn't do, drink any beer. But anyway, the
Until
red
now.
wine was very nice. I'll say that.
Yeah, the orange wine that you're drinking now looks pretty good too. But yeah,
Yeah,
let's
good,
chat
good.
a bit more. Let's chat a bit more of fun in rugby league now. Some moments I want to talk about. We chatted a bit about this on the pod on Wednesday night, but it's about players who somehow just will be running to the line. They just drop the ball. We talked a bit on Tyrone Munro from the Bunnies and how no one on him and he just lost the ball. And I spoke about Nathan Merritt a bit, but there's been so many instances where I've watched in rugby league where a player has made a break, they're almost there, and then for some reason the ball's popped out. I think I remember one a few years ago, Melbourne Storm, I think, were about to score a try, and he thought he had scored it, and it literally popped out as he was in the air. But do you remember any of them, mate? There's some funny ones.
Mate, as soon as you said that, you brought that up, I went back to an old player, Russell Richardson, who played for Cronulla.
Oh, yep.
And it was back before the days of I mean, you still had a scoreboard and everything, but it wasn't this big video wall piece. And I just remember he made a break, running down, and he's actually looked back and started, mocking the player
Oh,
chasing him. And then he sort of half turned around, ball's just coming out. You could see it was going to happen. And I remember just thinking, you idiot.
that's right. That's right. You can never mock players. That's what happens. It's just karma. The rugby league gods look down on that. So, no, you're exactly right,
Yep.
mate. Hey, what movie did you end up watching last night?
After the Tigers just lost and my heart was broken. Um, I didn't actually go a chick flick. Mate,
Wow.
I cooked the best spaghetti bowl I've ever
Oh,
cooked last night. Had it with red wine and with a friend, and ended up watching the movie The Outlaws on Netflix. It's
oh,
called The
okay. I don't
Outlaws.
think I've seen that one.
It's so terrible. It's good. It's
Made
one
you
of those
cry?
ones. So. No, no, no. There was no tears in this one. The Tigers took that out of me. So, but
Oh,
yeah, I had a laugh anyway.
yeah, beautiful, mate. I didn't get to watch a movie last night. It was all rugby league for me. But I mean, we're a rugby league podcast, but I just want to quickly chat. How good was the Matildas, mate? So good to
Oh,
see them get
mate,
through. Incredible stuff from the
fist bumps,
girls.
fist bumps.
Oh,
So
absolutely.
so good.
I uh
Oh,
I I went to
loved
watch
it.
it, but the Roosters game was on at the time, so I sort of that I was prioritised for that. But I
Fair enough.
obviously was getting updates from everyone, and what an atmosphere that would have been. Speaking on atmosphere and stadiums and the grounds, let's look at some iconic grounds over the years. Now, I've never been to GIO Stadium as well, and it's always one that I've really wanted to go to, mate. And I know you being a Canberra boy, like it's iconic. I've heard that the atmosphere there is great because just because of how big the stadium is itself, and it's sort of got that
Yeah.
oval shape about it. But I would love to visit. Are there any grounds like that where it's massive and just the atmosphere is so booming? Let's you talk about Main Park, the Suncorp Stadium back in the day, the days of Origin, and even now, you can't hear yourself think at grounds like
Yeah.
that.
Yeah, well, GIO Stadium, that was done up late 90s for the 2000
Okay,
Olympics.
right.
And Canberra's been crying for a more of a central stadium because it's out north. It's a great stadium. It's freezing
Mm.
cold.
Yeah, yeah.
First half is always nice on a Sunday afternoon, but then it's always an argument with the kids to make sure they've got their beanies, scarves, and hoodies to go on at half time. It's a great atmosphere, Joey, when there's a big crowd, but when the Raiders are struggling and there's not many people rocking up, it can be like visiting a cemetery. It's not very nice and it's cold.
That it sounds
Um,
like a Roosters home game, mate, and that's when we're winning.
One of the best grounds I've been fortunate enough to watch Australia play. I've watched New South Wales play Origin in Perth, Adelaide, Sydney, and Brisbane. And
Wow.
mate, Suncorp with Origin
Oh,
will
hands
be
down.
just it's even as a Blue supporter, it's unbelievable. I
Yeah.
did get to watch Joey Johns play his last game for Australia at Suncorp Stadium as well, the year when he announced his retirement.
Yeah.
He
Right.
played his
Wow.
last game for Australia against the Kiwis, and that was a good one. I think my work at the time bought me tickets for my 21st birthday because they knew I wanted to go to it,
That's all right.
and yeah, it was great. My mate who I was going with me, he was a Broncos supporter, and I was meeting him at the local pub on the Thursday night because it was a Friday night test match, and I was meeting him at the Thursday just to sort of sit there and plan out what we're going to do. Two beers, Joey. Two beers. I think we left at closing at 3 a.m. and we're on a 7 a.m. flight. And yeah, I was I was to be 21 again.
Oh, mate, to be 21 again. Yeah, no, you're exactly right. Let's
Or
jump back in.
34, I should say.
Let's jump back into the footy show, mate. I was reading the other day. Obviously, it was Fatty's birthday a couple of weeks back, last month, I'm pretty sure. And on my like Facebook timeline, because I every year I put up videos of the footy show for happy birthday to the
Yeah.
Fat, and I watched some great videos. One of my favorite ones that I watched was when he was doing the quiz show and it blew up behind him, and he jumped and they ran in with the fire extinguisher and they
Fire
started just
extinguishers?
putting it
Yeah,
all over
yeah,
him. And mate, just that show was hilarious. But more latter days, I love the Late Show with Matty Johns. I think the boys do
yeah.
a great job on that show. But for a period there, I don't know if you remember this on Channel 7, but Matty Johns had his own show, the Matty Johns Show. And
With
it was
Webkey.
with Webkit, and it was so
Yeah.
funny, man. Like he used to do Don Kirk, which was ripping off Don
I
Burke.
was about to say,
Um,
yeah, how talk about things that are so
yeah,
bad they're so funny.
but it was great because he would just like Matty Johns. He just the characters he can pull off. He did Stephen the Man Child. They did as well, which was pretty
Yes,
funny.
I remember that.
Was
Yeah,
that? I think that was with Matty Nables. I think Matty Nables was
yeah.
involved in that, or Tom and Tim as well, the Manly fans.
The Manly
Um,
supporters, yeah,
but yeah,
yeah.
no, that it was a good show. But mate, nothing beats the footy show. And yeah, thinking of those classic moments from the Fat, uh, mate, it just makes me laugh every time I see it's his birthday. Happy birthday to the Fat, by the way. Obviously a listener. But every time I see those videos, I just crack up. Just so good.
It just reminds you of back to that time, regardless of whatever you were
Exactly.
doing. You just go back to that time of your childhood or adulthood, depending
Yeah.
on how old you were at the time. But I remember the one where they were doing the quiz show, and he's got the paperwork in his hand, and then he sort of turned and all the papers falling over, and he's like, "Oh, I hope no one's seen this." And then they've put the camera on him, and he's like trying to pick him back up. It made it so good because I was so unprofessional.
Yeah,
It was,
it's great.
yeah,
Absolutely
definitely brought a
great.
whole new audience to rugby league.
Oh, for sure,
Do you
mate, for
remember
sure.
it was at the start and Mahatma Coat, like
Oh,
talk about
Mahatma.
characters, talk about characters that you couldn't put out there these days. That was who was that done by? Greg Matthews, I think it might have been.
Yeah, I think it was. I think it
I think it
was.
was. Yeah,
That was
yeah. It was.
great.
It
You
was
could definitely
National
not do
Unknown
that.
Rules.
Could definitely not do that these days.
No,
But
no.
even some of the stuff Bo Ryan did in the later stuff where he used to do like
Later years, yeah,
Sonny
yeah.
Bill TV, and
That's right.
used
G
to
Train.
yeah the
Remember
G
that? Paul
Train,
Gallen, the G Train.
and he did
Oh.
Semi Burgess, and he had all
Yes,
the Burgess
that's right.
brothers. Yeah,
That was the best, yeah,
he
and
was great. Oh, he
yeah,
did. Sorry, he did a Susan Boyle. He was like Susan Boyle, and
Susan
he's like
Boyle, yeah, that's right.
Semi Boyle.
Yeah.
Oh, it was great. Yeah, Bo
Oh,
Ryan
I
was
forgot about that.
he was classic man at doing some of those. And I remember I think he did one with the president at the time. I think it might have been Rudd. Um, it might have even been the CEO. You remember the CEO we had that knew nothing about rugby league? What's his name?
Dave Smith?
Dave Smith.
Dave
That
Smith.
was it.
I met with Dave Smith on a
Yeah.
whole separate story, but yeah, I got to do some marketing stuff with him in the NRL,
Yeah,
and that bloke
right.
knew nothing about rugby league.
No,
Yeah,
no, he knew
yeah.
nothing. And I remember Bo Ryan did something with him, and he was pretending to be him, and he was like, "Oh, Tigers scored, nice goal, go Australia!" And it was just hilarious. It was just like stuff, nothing that made
He
sense. Oh,
he was clever. Yeah, he was good.
yeah, he was great. Yeah, old Bowie, but yeah, nothing beats the OG footy show, mate. The OG was where it was at. Um, I want to chat about press conferences now. We've seen some good press conferences over the year, and we have seen some stinkers. One this year that was absolutely hilarious was obviously the Storm and Knights game. Remember Christian Welch, and he was like,
Oh,
"Oh, how did Newcastle lose that game?" And it wasn't a very good look
bet
for
you
him because
regrets that.
he does because they ended up beating Melbourne a few weeks later. But Bellamy's face when when Welsh said that, Bellamy was just like, "Yeah, yeah." Didn't want to get into it. Didn't want to say anything. But man, thank God for hot mics. There's been some wild ones. You've probably heard a few of Sticky Ricky. So give us some of his.
Oh, he's got the highlight reel. I think he's the highest paid, highest fined coach of NRL history or rugby league history.
Man,
Uh, his passion and emotion just comes out and just gets him into so much trouble. I could just picture the CEO before everyone, especially after a loss, just Ricky, just mate, take a deep breath, take a deep breath.
yeah,
And I think one of the funny ones with Ricky is where his captain over the years, Jared Croker, would sit there with his eyes just like lit up, not knowing what to say or do. But some of the best ones I've seen is when it's an away team, or sorry, a home coach. Their team's lost. They were expected to win. They lost, and at the time of the press conference, you can hear the away
yeah,
team singing their
in the
song,
bag. Yeah,
the team
yeah.
song in the back, and they are going absolutely off. And yeah, there's just some great ones out there, and even outside of rugby league, like some of the English Soccer League, Premier League ones
Oh
over there.
yeah,
Oh, there's some great ones there. When someone's phone was ringing once, and the coach just stared at him and said, "No, no, answer it, answer it. It's obviously important. Answer it." And yeah, made this person answer the phone call. But on a softer note, what's the famous soccer player of all time? I can picture
Maradona,
him. Maybe it is,
Maradona,
but
Ronaldinho, Cristiano Ronaldo.
yes, that's the one. Yeah, yeah. I
Yeah,
remember he was a kid stood up and asked a question and tried doing it in his language, and everyone was laughing because the kid couldn't do it properly. And he just stopped and looked at him and said, "You know, why you laugh? He's trying his hardest.
yeah,
You
that's
know,
it.
he's doing good." And it was just
Yeah,
a real nice one. But
yeah,
yeah,
for
mate,
sure.
watching Ricky. I talk about press conferences. I would hate to see Ricky's one this afternoon after the Raiders got absolutely pumped
Oh,
by 50. Yeah,
yeah, mate. Yeah, I mean the worst ones for Ricky are if Raiders lose by a try or a referee decision. He does not like refereeing
yeah.
decisions at all. Absolutely loses it. But mate, you can't go past Jeff Tuvey, mate. Absolute
Got to be an
classic.
investigation,
Got to
Joey.
be an
It's ridiculous.
investigation. His face, I don't ever think I've seen him go that red before in my life. His face was so red during that press conference, and there wasn't an investigation. It didn't matter in the end, but yeah,
And we
Tubes,
still get the same calls wrong.
we still get it wrong. But Tubes, absolute master of it. How good
Yeah,
was that? But mate, I think that's about it for this week. Just a bit of
that's
off
good.
field stuff. Have another sip of me drink.
This has definitely got
Oh
a
yeah,
strong lemon flavour to it, which
yeah, very nice.
clean out the pipes, no doubt.
Yeah,
But
this is just your classic, mate. Just an XPA. Pale ale. Not a big pale
yeah,
ale fan, but it's what I had in the fridge today. I am hoping to get
no,
some more
nice.
very soon.
Well,
But mate,
I'm going to save this one. I've got the Brain Smiles Hazy Pale Ale for next week, and I'll make sure next
oh,
Saturday night that I don't get into a bottle of red.
very nice,
But
very
I'll finish
nice.
it. I'm not a quitter, Joey. I'll finish it.
Hey, that's what I love about you, mate. Well, thank you for jumping on. Thank you for listening, everybody. We'll throw this up on YouTube. It will be raw and unedited, but have some fun with it. Enjoy. We'll throw up even our technical difficulties. It'll all just be in one video. So enjoy it. Sorry if you get to a part and it does stop. Just bear with us. It won't be long and it'll be back. It will also be audio on Spotify as well, and we'll throw it up on our socials at TikTok, Facebook, and Instagram as well. Thank you, Craigie. Have a great night, mate. Don't
Thank
get
you,
into
mate.
too much
Just
trouble.
no, never, never. But just a massive shout out because we had a lot of listeners on the first one. So yeah, thanks to everyone, and
Yeah,
hope you all
thank
had an
you.
awesome weekend.
Thank you. Yeah, and feel free to share it. You can share the YouTube. You can share all our social media as well. Get your friends and family involved. Have some fun with it. I hope that it brings back good memories for you all. Lots of reminiscing to do about the footy
Oh,
show. he's uh
oh.
he's gotten through it. He's done
Woo.
very well. He's done very well. We're very proud of you, mate. But yeah, that is it for Two Blokes, a Beer, and a Podcast. Until next time, be good to your mum.